Welcome to Market Mindset. We are the hub for news, results, and CEO interviews focusing the junior commodities sector. We provide market analysis and perspective that will help position you for solid returns. If that sounds like something you're interested in, you can help support us by liking this video, subscribing to our channel, and clicking the notification bell. For more info, you can visit our website. All links are in the description below. Now let's get into today's video.
Good morning, everyone. It's Andrew with the Market Mindset. We are live in Penticton. So
well,
I'll
you're
take the
live
shades
in
off.
Penticton. I'm stuck here, but
yes. Well, we're outside in it. It's been a hot couple of days, but a fun couple of days. When we're talking about all this heat, it's a good time to talk about energy.
it is for sure. Yeah.
And we're always flirting with it, and we're always talking about the different angles to it, whether it's on the battery side and the storage, or whether it's about nuclear or solar or hydro. But obviously, as soon as the entire situation with Russia and Ukraine really took hold, there was a crisis in Europe for energy before that, but that really highlighted then that there wasn't a sound strategy in Europe, and then that highlighted very quickly there is no sound strategy for rolling forward in North America either. And so I thought we'd just talk quickly before we talk about Avila, which is an energy company in Alberta that we're quite interested in, and they've had some good news releases and some great performance in the market as well, to be just blunt, in once again a very challenging market. I kind of like to just kind of check up on people just to remind them of where we get our energy and the likelihood, the hopes, and the transition. That period of time is it's going to be hard, and it's going to be long. And the unfortunate thing is what it seems like today is that they're just saying we're going to stop, but we don't have anything else hooked up yet. And that's essentially it. I mean, it's without getting into the intentional side, which we try to do, is that it's, how could they be, what's the intent of these people? What are they doing?
Yeah. Well, and it's obviously something that's at the forefront of a lot of people's mind, and it's a crisis that was obviously heightened by the Russia-Ukraine situation, but it goes further back beyond that. And like you said, it kind of goes into not being able to commit to this shift, but also not really being realistic about the shift and the fact that you're going to need a massive amount of petroleum products to even begin to move down this path, that unless you have a viable backup plan like coal, which a lot of people would say isn't really a viable backup plan, although we're seeing most of Europe return to it, or nuclear, which some of Europe has said, yeah, you know what, let's get that going again. Some of Europe is like, dear God, no, we're not touching that. So you've got to have a backup plan in place, because you're not just going to flip to solar or electric or wind power tomorrow. You're not going to flip to it in 5 years. You might be able to flip to it in 10 years, but it's going to take a massive commitment and overhaul of your infrastructure to be able to do that.
Yeah, I think if we pull up, I like to look at this chart every once in a while, and it's our world in data, which is usually pretty good site, because it'll break things down pretty simply. It'll just say, listen, here's the data. Here's what we're looking at. Okay, see, like global primary energy consumption by source, and this is all goes up to 2019. And let me assure you that in 2021, coal went a lot higher.
No.
So your greenest countries, touting green strategies like Germany, had record coal use, because once again, they had no other plan in place, and that's part of the issue here. So you can see gas, oil, coal, boom. That's almost all of your energy right there.
Yeah.
We keep on talking about there's solar and there's biofuels, which that's an interesting on itself, and hydro, but that's a very small portion. And even when we talk about the battery side, that's just talking about storage of power. You still have to, that power has to be generated at some point. And a lot of people don't realize, whether it's in Vancouver or elsewhere, they don't realize, well, where is this all being generated from? And they'll say, well, it's electric and it's coming from a dam. Okay, there is obviously that is the case, but I talked to one engineer who said if you just wanted to have every car in Vancouver electric by 2030, say, you'd have to have 9 more Site C dams. So that's 9 more massive dammed rivers across the province. Right now, I can tell you that'll never happen, because you can imagine every environmental group up in arms saying, you can't dam these rivers. Look at the the unintended consequences. Look at what will happen to this biosystem. Look what will happen here, and they wouldn't be wrong. So this is the issue: is that there's lots of well-intended people that are concerned about things, but they just stop there. They don't go, well, what's the solution? And as soon as you mention a solution, they're not that interested. In any event, that's we're going to work on a little report here about energy realism, and we'll keep the politics out, and we'll even keep some of the science out, because we're not trying to convince anyone of anything. My kind of take on it is that we're excited to make the attempt to see how we could get into renewables more effectively, more efficiently, but do it in a realistic time frame, knowing that there's a big transition period. That's kind of what we're trying to hit home to people.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we have to embrace that, right? And we hammer the point a lot of, there's going to be this transition period. You're going to need these critical resources, especially oil and natural gas. And we can do it better than anyone else can. And by we, I mean North America, but specifically, I mean Canada can do this better than anywhere else in the world. We can do it cleaner than anywhere else in the world, which is, if that's your main priority, that should be something that highlights to you. We can do it more ethically than they certainly can in the Middle East or in parts of Europe or parts of Asia. And we can definitely put it to market if given the opportunity, much more effectively as well.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we will hit home for sure, is a lot of the misinformation given by, once again, well-intended environmentalists that are constantly attacking energy at every kind of point. And I mean, the irony with all of that is, Canada won't use Canadian energy, but will import it all from Saudi Arabia. And it's, once again, it's the basis of that is the not in my backyard strategy of, if as long as we can say that we're not creating it, we can pretend that because we're using it, that we're not the cause of the problem. And that is, that's a silly type of thinking. In any event, let's talk about Avila though, because this is what we really want to talk about. It listed about a year ago, and we were excited to see what they were going to do and what they were kind of focused on. It was a conventional energy oil and gas play. And one just final thought, and I've said this a lot, also just as a transition, even with a decreased use in oil and gas, as the world uses more and more power, and as the world's population grows and grows and grows, that doesn't mean we're going to stop. That's the other thing that people have to keep in mind, is that when they talk about this net zero and all that, that doesn't also mean that we're not using oil and gas. That we're going to. You have to, unless there's such a major breakthrough, or unless we've embraced nuclear at such an incredible pace. It's not feasible. So it takes some sort of major technological home run hit. And we've talked a little bit about fusion a few times, but I've read a bunch of things lately claiming that the fusion thing is not even close to being 10 years off. It's that a lot of it's hype. So if someone says, well, there's fusion coming, and that's the cleanest source of power, and the most dense energy, I don't know. That's maybe more of a wing and a prayer at this point. Anyways, let's just transition in. So Austin, tell us maybe a little bit about Avila.
Yeah, so I think we'll start it off by, kind of just making the highlights. They're obviously an Alberta-based business. They've got properties in Alberta as well as BC. They're, they made a big push to kind of consolidate together a couple of companies, Avila Resources at the time and VIK Energy. Brought the two companies together, merged their assets together as well, and then rolled out as Avila Energy Corporation. And now a lot of the time what you'll see when someone's kind of doing an uplist like that and they get stuck in the exchange and regulations and all that sort of stuff is it can take a lot of time, and sometimes companies can be guilty of sitting around twiddling their thumbs a little bit. That was not the case with Avila. They got stuck into a lot of their hard kind of monotonous behind the scenes work during that time frame while they were doing that kind of 10-month dead period for the stock. At least they were grinding hard. They were working away on getting their properties, doing some upgrades, some maintenance, adding some additional equipment and stuff like that, and really ready to kind of hit the ground running when the regulatory process was done. We've seen that conclude over the last month, and it's been a pretty good. It was a little kind of shaky out of the gate. I think that was probably from 10 months of people not really knowing what was going on, but it's bounced back nicely, and it's a really, really exciting story for both of us. I know that.
Yeah, and like I said, they've really hit the ground running now, and they're developing their website. They're developing all this info to get it out there, because at the same point in time, they're really initiated and following through with their first milestones of organic growth and M&A. That's their first big push, and we can see that that's come together with the news release from yesterday, and they've got a good timeline for not only for production but for BOE a day, but also, I mean, they've got all their land is 100% owned and developed with lots of undeveloped mineral rights as well. They've got over 200 kilometers of pipelines. I think there's 5 processing facilities, and they tie in directly to TC Energy, their network. So they're ready to go. They've done a lot of work well behind the scenes, even before listing last year, but certainly in the last 10 months as well. And this is more than a conventional play. I think in the bigger terms and the bigger scope of how it's going to work. But right now, if you just looked at it as just a conventional oil and gas company, is this real? Do they have production? Yes, they have. They're going to be dealing with a pretty large, good number of free cash flow. And I think you're going to find a lot more people are going to be a lot more interested in companies that have fundamental free cash flow to either put back into the business to grow their business and to advance their own kind of projects, rather than companies that are relying on, listen, we might have earnings or we might have revenue in 10, 20, 40 years.
Yeah, and that's a big part of it, is to be able to say, look, we have this strategy in place, we have a team set up, and we have the financial strength and intelligence to be able to do this properly. And just like a couple of numbers, I'm going to pull these off their fact sheet that they have. Their land package is almost 140,000 acres worth of land, and I know they talk openly about wanting to continue to add to that as well. So that's a massive amount of land already. The reserves, total proven reserves via an independent study on that land package that they have, values at over $160 million. So that's incredibly impressive to already have that arrow in your quiver, sort of to speak, but then to be actively looking for ways to add to that as well is extremely exciting.
Yes, and I mean, some of the other key terms is that when they projected some of these numbers, and reach out to us, we can kind of walk you through them as well, is that they used $82 a barrel oil and $5.35 gas, and they're all in cost right now. Their blended operating expenses are less than $7.50 a BOE, and also their finding costs and developing kind of exploration costs are just under $5. So all in, that's pretty spectacular margins, because in part they're totally vertically integrated, and they've got the management team to do it. That they're agile, they've got a huge experience and well known in the markets, and because that they are vertically integrated, have all the pipelines tying right into TC Energy, they can move very quickly, and I think you're going to see that's the absolute intent of the company.
Yeah, that certainly is the strategy, and the goal is to move quickly, to really sort of ramp things up now that they've been able to resume trading and kind of showcase to the world, to the market, just what exactly they've been doing, what they're planning to do, and what this team's capable of. Yes,
I think a good way to kind of tie it all together is that their goal is to be a leading low-cost carbon neutral energy producer in 2023. And that's not just, the greenwashing kind of idea. This is by definition, we've talked about it before, when they talk about net zero, it doesn't mean that you're not going to have any emissions. It's just there'll be net zero. So they're very, well versed in that, and it's part of this conversation of energy realism, of what do some of these key terms mean, and not what the politicians who throw them out there think they mean. Often, is that we'll help kind of walk people through this, and this is going to get a lot of attention in Alberta, obviously, where people understand energy. A little bit tougher in other provinces that may not, that don't realize even generating the generating electricity. In a large part, 40% of that electricity that's being generated is used from natural gas. They don't know that. They don't realize that. And even the solar panels, the wind, and all that, they have backup generators that are natural gas, and in order to deal with the intermittent pauses in energy flow in that kind of system. And those will get better in time as well. So could people say, well, those are going to get stronger and better? They will. They absolutely will. And there are things like vanadium redox batteries that can store a lot more energy, but they're not using them yet. And a lot of these lifetime of projects are very long. We're talking years and years and years. If you wanted to start hooking up more nuclear, which the U.S. is thinking about, Canada is thinking about, even France is kind of putting up some more. It's years. Like the permitting, the getting the uranium, the building the plant. It's a very long process. But we're getting a little bit busy and loud out here right now, so I think we should probably say goodbye soon.
Yeah, I think just to kind of wrap it up is, the excitement that obviously we have around this story is huge, because it's something that we hammer on a lot. We talk about wanting to embrace what we are in Canada as a resource country, and what we're able to do, and what we think we can do better, cleaner, more efficiently than anyone else. And that's what for me personally, that's what makes this story so exciting, is it because they hit all of those markers, and they can be what I think over the next few years is it really showcase, hey, this is the best of what we can do when given the opportunity to embrace this side of and what we as a country and as an economy can do so well. And I think that's what I find to be kind of the real main highlight, and kind of my wrapping up point on it is just that it's so exciting to see something like this really going to make it a big charge, I think, and hit a lot of key milestones as they move forward.
Yeah, and our job will be to show people that maybe aren't aware of energy and how it's created and how it works, to show them the reality of the situation. And we'll never win over the people who just say, we just want to stop all energy use and energy production, which seems to be kind of the core message of a lot of a very, very the aggressive climate alarmist type of groups. And that's not realistic. That's never going to happen. So if people want to have the conversation, we're open to the conversation. We want to, as everyone knows, we want to see this electric future. We're definitely excited about batteries. We're excited about all the other types of energy. So to us, it isn't that we're trying to, push one direction or not. It's that we need to deal realistically, and what we've got as far as resources in Canada to do it. Take the politics out. We should be using Alberta natural gas and oil products, since they're right there. They're done under stringent regulation that is even stronger than any ESG. It just makes sense. We shouldn't be importing from China, into from the Middle East. And certainly Biden shouldn't be selling their oil reserves to China either. So we're living in a very strange world. And I think they're starting to wake up. They need to wake up faster. And then, listen, if we're going to do this big transition, lay out the roadmap. Let us know how it's going to happen. And let's open up all these mines. Let's get nuclear going. Let's get the amount of copper we're going to need. But until we start hearing them pitch that, how this transition is going to work, I don't know if we're just talking politics then. We're just talking ideas. We're not talking about reality. And anyways, good stuff, Austin. I look forward to more coming out from Avila. They're working on a lot of stuff right now for their work, but they're also working on their website. So you can always reach out to Leonard as well. But I would say to anyone, give us a shout first, so you're not getting them too busy right now, because they're running the company. We can walk through a lot of the data and stuff that we've got here, and we don't like to pound people with the data too much on the show. We want to keep it a little bit more light and fresh. But we'll walk people through this, and happy to do so. So send us emails, send us any questions, and we'll get responses right back to you. But there's going to be, I think, a lot happening in a short period of time with this whole organic growth and acquisition phase, and that is pretty exciting.
Yeah, it definitely is. And then as they start to kind of build through that, I think the vision of the long-term plan will start to come into focus a lot more as well. And that's really, really exciting stuff. So enjoy the rest of your week, guys. Andrew, Adam, enjoy yourselves out in Penticton. Try not to burn too much. And we will chat to you guys later. Take care, everyone.
Take care.